YouTube? Sorry for the long delay between my videos. Ever since I started making these in around November, December, I've been actually crazy busy at work with report card season and sessions and presentations and conventions. So back on it right now, and I'm going to hopefully start some new topics. So where we last left off would be the idea of theme in gamification. And the next thing we're going to talk about is duration, because sadly enough in gamification, size does matter. Alright, there are three basic ways that you can apply gamification to your classroom. The first would be to gamify an individual lesson. The second would be to gamify an entire week, or moving on into an entire unit. And the third would be to gamify the entire year or program or semester, depending on the way that your school breaks down its own schedule. So, there's specific elements that you need to focus on when you're going to gamify different durations and lengths for the class. So, I want to dive a little bit deeper into the three different things that you should focus on for the three different types of gamification. Alright, so the first way to gamify a class I would recommend completely would be to start by gamifying an individual lesson or review activity. So, what I would recommend is taking examples of, on my YouTube channel, previous videos where I talked about guild battles. Applying a review game is a great way to add different and specific elements of gamification to get kids excited about the idea and about the concept. So what you can do is you can create some very basic cards, and they don't have to be fancy. You can even just write them on a piece of paper or cardstock just to introduce them. And maybe they could be things like swords or shields or spears, and allow them to steal questions and punish other teams and remove and skip turns to put that element of strategy and forward thinking. But the overall idea that you want to do when you focus on gamifying an individual lesson is to focus on teamwork, prizes, rewards, and anything along those instant gratification. This is going to get kids very hooked on the concept of playing, and that's something that I believe really is lacking in schools. The other kind of tip that I use is sometimes to introduce this without telling them what's coming, as I use mystery. I'll go ahead and I'll put a big number 5 on my board, and I'll get kids to speculate why it's there and who did it and why did they do it. Then I change it to a 4 and a 3 and a 2 and so on, and what they quickly realize is that it's a countdown, but I always pretend like I don't know. And this works really great actually with elementary and lower middle school, where the kids will really eat up the concept that you might not actually know who's writing it down. So as you put these countdowns, they begin to anticipate what's going to happen when it gets to 1 or 0. So that's actually a great way to introduce it for an individual lesson. So again, make sure you're focusing on fun, rewards, prizes, and teamwork. Alright, so the second way that we can actually start gamifying is to expand it from an individual day, maybe over the course of a week, to now getting into an entire unit. Now in order to gamify a unit, you want to focus on some different aspects in gamification. What you want to do now is you want to give kids a main target and a main goal, and you want to base it around a story. So something might go missing and they're going to solve clues in order to discover who stole it or where it's hidden. Or you might have someone who have to capture someone and free them. Or you might have a story where someone is trying to uncover, solve a giant puzzle, go to a different planet, defeat a big monster, whatever the case may be. And you want to start using more in-depth game language. So you might not call your work work, you might be sending them on quests or adventures. You might not want to refer to tests as tests, but say there's an upcoming boss battle. You might want to give kids items, and they might have an inventory. They might be following a specific story or narrative with game characters. So you want to start incorporating that language. What this is going to do is it's going to begin the immersion for the students who are going to now feel like this classroom is something different and something unique, because now they're not working, but they're going on quests or adventures. And sometimes just tweaking the game to incorporate a lot of the game language that they're probably quite familiar with based on the actual statistics of gaming and how prevalent it is it actually helps kids take the edge off of school. School's a pretty intimidating place for kids, so just simply using game language is often proven to start taking down the stressors that exist in the classroom and making it more fun and more enjoyable. So that's definitely some tips about how you could gamify an entire unit. Now the third thing that you're going to do, and that would be if you're feeling good with the lesson and then moved on into an individual unit, would be to take that and start expanding it over multiple units, eventually leading up to an entire year-long gamification. This is currently what I'm doing, and it's proven to be incredibly successful because of the way kids get immersed into it. So now, the things you want to focus on in a year-long gamification is a very distinct goal that the kids are getting towards. So in mine, we know by looking at my movie trailer from my previous videos, is that I've had the evil Minotaur King who has uncovered and trying to find the stone that the people of my community have uncovered and we've hidden. and he's given us 10 months, which is the length of the school year, or he's going to start wreaking havoc in the land more than he already is. You're going to want to take the different units or chapters or sections of the topics that you're going to be covering and divide them into different lands, worlds, realms, challenges, whatever it is the language you'd like to use. But now the way that I answer the question of, well, when are we going to use this in our real life, which is a really common thing you start getting in middle school, especially in high school, especially in topics like math, social, or history, is what you want to start getting into is having a running narrative. A running narrative is where kids actually encounter people that give them tasks and jobs to do, which becomes their work. So instead of just simply building a cell model in my class, the kids come across a broken down building using augmented reality, and in it comes out a person who is a scientist who has done all this research on cells, who's been hit in the head, and he's losing his memory, so he gives them the material and he says, preserve my knowledge. What I do in this case is I give kids a goal, but I don't give them how to do it. I don't create the path for them. So I allow them to uncover how would you in fact in that scenario preserve his knowledge so that it doesn't stop or die off with him. Other ideas are when I teach hydraulics and pneumatics, kids have a hard time kind of visualizing or conceptualizing where they use hydraulics and pneumatics in their life. So I create my Hobbit habitat where the kids then have to actually come across and save a hobbit that's fallen into a well by building a hydraulic or pneumatic lift to get him out, and if they're able to do so, the grateful parents of this person who's fallen in the well give you a prize. And if not, then you have to somehow live with the grief of the fact that this person or these people might come back later on in the story to punish you for not being able to help them or completely ignoring them, as certain work in a year-long gamification is optional. So in focusing on that story, that narrative, and the tangible targets and goals, and a deep emphasis on game language, you're really going to find a lot of success in a year-long program. Don't forget key things. Some tips would be definitely the theming of your classroom and the slow integration of things like game cards, styles or types of cards or rarities, different elements of mystery. To my left I have a Diamond Mind, which is a game of chance that I just introduced in January. I added the clouds and I upgraded the theme. My room was not the same as it was in September, and now we now approach the end of February. So don't roll or put all your eggs in one basket, as they say, and begin to release things. One of the mistakes I made early on in my gamifying is I released too much too soon, and it either A, overwhelmed the kids, or B, they got bored a little bit earlier than I would have expected, if at all really, because they ended up uncovering too many things too soon and there was nothing to look forward to. So that is definitely a few tips and tricks towards gamifying your entire unit. No matter what type of gamification you want to roll out, you want to make sure that you're focusing it on the kids. Do not be afraid to include the kids in the ideas, in the concepts, in the designs, in the theme, and any aspect of the gamification. The more that they are personally invested into the programs that you create, the more that they're going to reciprocate it back in terms of quality of work, in terms of taking care of the space, and the list goes on and on. So, now that your brain is all full up with some knowledge, let's hope that you can go ahead and start planning your own gamification in your own classroom. Until next time.